Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Calling All Devs, our weekly Q&A series where I take questions from you, the Star Citizen backer, and pose them directly to our Star Citizen developers, usually over Skype. We are starting things right off the bat this week with a Calling All Devs newbie. We're calling Nicholas Monk out of Foundry 42 Frankfurt. He's an associate producer on the weapons team there. Nick, how you doing, man?
Hey Jared, how's it going? How's life in LA?
I'm doing well. You know, LA, it's another day in paradise, my friend. It got almost as hot as 80 degrees yesterday. It was just, I didn't know what to do with myself. So, Nick, you're a producer for the weapons team. Welcome to Calling All Devs. We have a question that's
Thanks for having me.
Oh, always. We've got a question that's been submitted by our backers and voted on by our backers, detailing two aspects of our ship and FPS weapons. So it's a two-part question. The first part is, where is the progress on weapon attachments for FPS weapons? Let's just start you off there.
Okay, so for the FPS weapon attachments, with 3.2 we're introducing Weapon System 2.0, and part of Weapon System 2.0 is that it allows you to modify the weapon's values like damage, recoil, spread, and so on with attachments. So the system is there. We also have couple of assets already, like scopes and grips, that you can then attach to a weapon. So that works. What doesn't work yet is the bit that lets the player swap it out. So whether that would be through the mobile glass, like just selecting the attachments, or whether that be an animation where you can see in first person, like swapping the attachments, that's basically the bits that's still missing. Mm-hmm. It's on the backlog. It's on our schedule, but that's basically keeping it from being released. Yeah.
Gotcha. That sounds very similar to our ship modularity system, where we have the internal developer-facing system up and running, but we're still waiting on development for the player-facing system.
Yeah.
As folks know who watch Around the Verse or RTV or anything, UI is the one department that touches every single aspect of two massive games. So their backlog is pretty hefty. I will say that I believe there are UI positions available on cloudimperiumgames.com/jobs if you're interested out there. But yeah, so the technology is in 3.2, but backers will not be able to utilize it themselves in 3.2. We can, as we create new weapons and tune new weapons, but we are waiting on that front end development before we can allow backers to control the weapons themselves. All right, second question. What about the subcomponents for ship weapons and other components? We first heard mention of this a couple weeks ago, actually, that we got our ships, and then we got our components, and now there are going to be subcomponents. So where are we at with the subcomponent system?
Okay, so the ship weapons, that's actually interesting because it's pretty much the other way around. So for the ship weapons, all the components, everything like the asset is ready. Because like we already knew that this was coming up. Like we want the player to be able to swap out specific parts of the weapon, only upgrade the barrel, only upgrade the cooling unit, the firing unit, and so on. So we made our art assets ready to support that. So that actually works for all weapons, I think, released after 3.0, mm-hmm. So except the legacy ones. But the system's not there, so you can't yet swap it out, and you can't upgrade specific parts yet, which then has an influence on the weapon. But that's also on our plate and scheduled in the backlog.
Gotcha. So Art anticipated it. Art has been working on it since basically for 2018, since 3.0 came out. Now we just need to do the backlog of all those weapons that came before, and then our design and engineering and programming teams need to get to the building the system that allows the actual switch out.
Pretty much, yeah.
So priorities, man. It's all of game development is just a juggling of priorities each and every week. But it sounds like it sounds like your team has their stuff covered, Nick.
Yeah, we do. I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
All right. Well, thanks so much, man. Congratulations on your very first Calling All Devs appearance. I'll let you get back to work.
Cool. Thanks. Thanks a lot, man. Cheers.
Take care.
Bye.
All right. Thank you so much, Nicholas. Now, moving to our next question, we are going all the way around the world to the desk directly to Nicholas's right and our very own Dan Truffin, bigwig out of Foundry 42 Frankfurt. Dan, how you doing, man?
Hey, Jared. All good here. How are you?
I'm doing well. I said bigwig because I can't remember anybody's actual title. What's your title, Dan?
Lead system designer.
Lead system designer. All right. Now, Dan, we got a question for you. These questions come from the backers. They're voted on by the backers. I say that every episode because it's a big part of what this show is all about here. This is a big one. This is one that's been a point of contention amongst the community for years. Since the project began, we've seen discussions about piracy and non-consensual PvP and how these things will be judged and how they'll be juried and executed and all that stuff like that. We got that for you this week. Now we've been doing a series of some of the bigger tentpole questions over the last couple of weeks. Things like insurance and stuff like that. It's whenever we do an answer like this, we tend to set the internet kind of on the side or whatnot because after years there are changes to development. The project has evolved over the years. An answer that was given 4 years ago may not apply to the project as it states now. That's what game development is. It's the process of figuring all this stuff out. So I do want to ask you this question, but I also want to preface this question that this is our thinking right now. This is our current thinking about it. We are still talking about systems that are a bit in the future. It's like that. So I want to give that preface here before we get to it. Your question, your big $10,000 pyramid question, was that the show? I don't know. What are your plans to identify and punish griefers while letting the pirates do their job?
Yep, it's a big one. So there's a few things that we have in the plans right now which will improve this, and it will all start with our law system. And also it all starts with the definition of what we consider a pirate. Where does piracy become griefing, and where do we draw the line? We definitely not necessarily want to encourage piracy, but we definitely want to have it there. It needs to be there. There's people who love doing it, and if you're able to mine over and over with no challenge, with no interesting things getting your heart pumping, it becomes boring after a while. So piracy has its purposes. We want these people to be trying to catch a miner off his guard or without any guards and patrols around him that are trying to keep him alive. So it's a matter of do you kill someone to loot them and make some money? That is a pirate for us. If you kill him 5 times over and over and over and don't allow him to play the game, then that becomes griefing. And this is what we're trying to identify. Now, when the law system comes into play, that will see pockets of space starting from the size of a solar system all the way to like a small, maybe pirate outpost in the middle of a lawful region. But around that outpost, they are maintaining the law. They create like a law bubble around that place. And everything that they can monitor and see and track, that respects their law. Now, if you're inside that pirate bubble, you might be able to just shoot everyone or whatever those pirate rules are. Maybe they don't shoot each other. They have a pirate code or whatever might be drug lord territory where they're trying to build drugs, but they still have some kind of law they still want to make money. They don't want to be no man's land. We will create all of these like pockets of different things that you're allowed to do, things that you're not allowed to do. And then you choose basically which pocket do you want to be in? Which do you want to live in this area of the universe where basically there's no one and no laws and you can shoot anyone can shoot you, and that is fun for some people. For other people, they might want to be in an area that is more controlled, and as soon as someone attacks them, suddenly there's UE ships coming in and there's a big armada just there to protect them at any time. Obviously the rewards will be different. If UE has to protect you, that space probably, let's say you're a miner, there's not much to mine anymore because everyone kind of lives in that space and it's kind of depleted now. If you go into no man's land, now this is where all the riches are, but you might not make it out alive. So players will have to make a choice, and as long as that choice is It's something they voluntarily make, and they go like, I want to go there. I know the risks. I can read the risks. There's a readability going like, okay, that I like that. I like that. I don't like that. I'm not going in there. I'm going here. And as long as they can make that choice, it's very hard for them to then go like, well, I'm being griefed by people who are killing me.
Mm-hmm.
You knew the consequences. You just went for the big bucks. Sorry, you lost. Try again.
Yep.
But then, let's say you go into a very lawful region, and you will still. Players are players. Players will do crazy stuff. Players will continuously, even if they lose their ship, they will shoot someone down, knowing that the law enforcement will track them down and kill them anyway, and they lose reputation. They won't care. There will be people who have so much money because they work. They gain that money lawfully, or not lawfully, but they
within the confines of the game.
They worked for it.
Yeah.
Within the confines of the game, they worked for that money. They might just go like, yeah, I'll waste half of my fortune just to mess with someone. And this is where we need to step in. It'll be a matter of, let's say I'm average dude and super billionaire is killing me now again, and then I wait for my ship to come from insurance and I go out again and kills me again and again and again. I cannot play the game. At that point, you will have to put in a ticket, and we will have to step in and go, we'll look through the logs. We'll try to track the guy down because we know what server he's playing. We can actually see his activity, and there will be consequences for the griefer. Ideally, we're trying to automate as much as possible these systems, but people find a way around it. Generally, people are very good at tricking machines, and this is where real people will have to track a ticket down and track that griefer and find out what he did, and there will be consequences. We cannot have a toxic atmosphere in the game. Mm-hmm. If it's within the confines of the game, fair enough, and that is piracy. But as soon as you break that and your main goal is just to upset someone over and over and over so they can't play the game, that is where we need to step in.
Yeah, it's okay to have an antagonistic relationship. We want that in the world. We want all kinds of
hatred and love, and I love these guys because they helped me fight this other guy who
I
really hate
these guys because
these guys killed me last month, and I need to do something against them. And we want that kind of interaction. We don't want a sterilized game that is like everyone is friendly and I can't interact with anyone. It's boring.
Yeah.
So we want to keep that part interesting.
Yeah,
but don't want it going too far.
Yeah, there's a line. It's when you prevent them from being able to play the game. That's griefing. Yes, when you make their lives difficult, that's not griefing. It's a thing. It's a thing that MMOs have struggled with for years across all genres from all developers, and everybody's got their own kind of litmus test for where that line is and when it crosses. And of course, and we'll develop our own as the game goes, and we see how the game can be played and what's possible in the game and how fast it takes to recover. And so it's a thing. It's not like we can sit there and draw it out and show you a diagram right now. Like this is the line right now. The game needs further development before we draw such borders. But it's a challenge that every MMO has to face, and we're up for it. I firmly believe we're up. I was there at Blizzard when we launched WoW, and if I can get through WoW, I remember those days. we're okay here. Yeah. All right, I think you did a good job. You did a good job, Dan.
Where's those $10,000 that I was promised if I get it right?
Yeah. Like I had $10,000. I'm a content manager on a community manager salary, working for a crowdfunded video game.
Got it on tape,
I ain't got 10,000. I ain't got 10,000. All right, man. I'll let you get back to work.
Well, thanks.
Thank you, man.
Bye.
Bye. All right, thank you so much, Dan. Now, moving back to a Calling All Devs All-Star in our All-European edition of the show this week, John Crew, Vehicle Pipeline Director at a Foundry 42 UK. John, how you doing, man?
Hi, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Another day in paradise. Another day in paradise. I think I've said that 3 times. I need to come up with a different stock answer. When this all cuts together, I'm thinking about it right now. I said, everybody asked me how I was doing, and I said the same answer every time. It's because I'm lying through my teeth. I'm terrible. I'm a sad, like one of those French clowns mimes.
Fix it in post.
Yeah, there's no post on this show. That's part of the deal. All right, I got 2 questions for you. One's a pretty sure a brief one. One's a little bit more involved. The first question: are you currently working on a crash landing animation for Planet Surface?
Nope, we're not working on anything specific like that.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Now, the question doesn't really say whether he's talking about an animation of like ships. Do the ships animate differently, or do the players animate differently? But I already talked to Steve Bender for the player thing, just in case. And right now, there's no current work for anything specific to crash landings. Doesn't mean it won't change in the future. Just means there's nothing to say now. All right, other question. If large ships are meant to be unable to outmaneuver fighters, then why are the main guns often not long range enough to engage the fighter before finding itself at a complete disadvantage?
So the short answer is they should be. I think a lot of them actually are already. Maybe they're not far enough, but that's certainly the intention is they shoot further so they can hit further. With Weapon 2.0, which is coming online with 3.2, we've essentially reset up every single weapon in the game from scratch. We kept the art assets, but all the actual data record side of it is different. So all the DPS values are almost certainly changed. The spread absolutely has changed on all the guns because it's a completely different system. It's gone from this just arbitrary number to an actual sort of degree cone, which is a lot friendly to designers to understand rather than just this magic number. For ship weapon, they've got all power and heat. That's all changed. So the weapons are all going to be completely different in 3.2 in terms of how they handle and how they do damage.
Gotcha. And that's, I imagine that's part of the conversion from XML to DataForge.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
All right. Cool. So DataForge, we've mentioned a number of times. You've seen it on Bug Smashers. You've seen it on Around the Verse. You've seen it on other episodes of Calling All Devs and Reverse the Verse. Just real quick, give me the 10-cent version of what DataForge is.
It's a sort of a visual editor for editing all these components. That's the beauty of Item 2.0 is it's essentially componentized. All the bits. So a record is just a bunch of components stacked together. So a geometry, a weapon behavior, a power behavior, and makes an entity out of it. DataForge is the editor for it.
Yeah. Instead of dealing in the old XML files, which were a legacy item from CryEngine.
Yeah, and it's something that you need a coder to make the first one of, and then you can change that. If you want to do a big change to a fire mode, they've got to make a new entity or a new class, whereas this lets us mix and match.
Cool. All right, man. That's all. You did it. Congratulations.
Cool.
I'll let you get back to work.
No problem.
Until next week. Actually, I don't think I have any. I don't think I have anything for you next week. I think you got a week off.
I have a holiday.
Yep. Until I call you next Thursday and tell you I was wrong.
Yeah.
All right. Take care, man.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Well, that about does it for this week's show. Special thanks to John Crew and Nicholas Monk and Dan Truffin for appearing on the show this week. Remember that you can submit your questions for consideration each and every week up in the thread, up on Spectrum, and don't forget to vote. That's the two-pronged plan. You got to submit your questions, then you got to vote on your questions, then I got to try to find a developer that's available, then I got to try to find an answer that's available, and then we all got to find their availability with my availability, and it's a big process. But if you've been submitting questions, you're like, man, I haven't had my question answered yet. It doesn't go anywhere. It's still on the list. We're next week. Actually, we're pulling questions from all men. We're actually going back to the January, the February, the March, the April, the May threads. We're pulling questions from all the old threads. It's just we like to mix and keep it up. Try to keep things fresh every single month. But some of these old legacy questions are worth going back to. So we're mixing and matching every once in a while. So your question's still in consideration. Don't worry. It's just all the stars have to align, as it were, for us to have it on the show. But we continue to persevere. For Calling All Devs, I'm Content Manager for Global Video Production, Jared Huckabee. We'll see you next week, everybody.
Thanks for watching. For the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42, you can subscribe to our channel, or you can check out some of the other shows, and you can also head to our website at www.robertsspaceindustries.com. Thank you very much for watching.